Two, one. Wonderful. All right, guys, welcome today. Join me rather in giving Sam here a big round of welcome. Sam is a hypopressives teacher, but has been working with her own journey of health that's led her here. So, Sam, welcome to our Super Healers show. How are you?
Very well, Mahesh. Thank you so much for the opportunity to appear on your show.
Thank you so much. Abby is on holiday. She'd have loved to say hi too. She usually joins me in these interviews. But Sam, tell us a little bit about your story and what prompted you to become a hyperpressive teacher. And yeah, spill the beans.
Yeah, sure. So, I got diagnosed in December 2022 with prolapses and stress incontinence, which was a huge shock and horror for me because I've always lived a very healthy life. I've always done lots of exercising, healthy eating, and I've always tried to look after myself the best I can. And I was actually in my Zumba class, and I felt something drop in my pelvic area. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it's just one of those things. But it was still there after about a week later. So I went to the doctors and got diagnosed with multiple prolapses. And I was told that I would have to have surgery. So I was completely in shock by this information because I couldn't quite understand what was happening. Um, and I was told to go away and do my Kegels, which I had heard of before because I've had two children, and the normal advice is to carry out Kegels after you've given birth to children. So I went away and started doing my Kegels, but I realized quickly after a short while that actually they were not going to be serving me and they were making a lot of tension in my pelvic area. So I decided then to go and get a second opinion from another gynecologist who recommended that I definitely needed surgery. So I was left in a bit of a situation where I didn't quite know what to do or how to support myself with this information. Um, I'm not one necessarily to put all my eggs into one basket. If someone tells me something, I like to kind of investigate if there are any other ways around it. So I started doing lots of research and investigation on the internet, did lots of reading, and this eventually led me to Moonrise. And from Moonrise, it completely changed my whole perception of myself, my healing journey, and what I could actually do to really sort myself out physically, emotionally, and mentally, because it's such an amazing holistic approach. But I realized actually my healing journey would not just be about me physically, it would be about looking at all the different areas in my life which come together to make up the holistic person that I am. Um, so I think for me, it was just knowing that although I had this diagnosis, there was hope. There was a sense of community out there because you can often feel quite isolated and alone and
Mm.
overwhelmed. So for me, it actually was very beneficial to talk about how I was feeling and with my family and my friends who were very supportive. But
Mm.
also, once I joined Moonrise, I realised that actually I wasn't the only person that was in this situation. Um, I believe
No.
that I believe that nearly 50% of women at some point in their lifetimes will suffer from some sort of pelvic disorder. So I think at that point, when my whole nervous system was completely thrown out, but just knowing that I wasn't alone, and this is something that which other women are happy to talk about and can empathize and just give myself that self-compassion. But I was very sure at the start that I wouldn't let it affect my confidence about who I
Wow.
was.
But take us through that because I was just thinking, first of all, I'm so proud of the work we do as a team. So thank you for sharing that, we played a role in your recovery. But I'm curious about the moments when you felt the drop and leading up to the diagnosis, leading up to the authoritative answer that you need to do a surgery or continue doing your Kegels. How long was that period? How did you go through that period? Like, what was it like?
Well, I'm very fortunate because I live in Thailand, where there's the turnaround time for appointments are very quick. So actually, I was able to see someone within the next week or so. So I was able to get that diagnosis virtually within a week. So I wasn't left on a waiting system, waiting for a year for an appointment, which I think, although the diagnosis wasn't particularly good news for me, as you can imagine, at least I had a bit of information, which I wasn't left not knowing what was happening to me. So I think that side was pretty swift. Um, but yeah, I did go through a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. I couldn't quite understand what was happening to my body, considering I'd always felt as if I'd lived a very healthy life. I was always doing lots of exercises, healthy eating, and trying to look after myself. So I couldn't quite fathom as to why. I couldn't rationalize what had happened to me or why it happened to me. But I was
Mm,
determined not to go into any sort of self-pity and research as much as I could about different experiences that women have had out there, and the different
mm,
modalities that they've had. But for me, I just found that just talking to people that I trusted really helped calm me down, like emotionally, because I did feel
mm,
under threat. I think that's probably how I felt it. I was definitely in a fight or flight mode for a long time. But just
mm,
building up my own portfolio of different healing modalities and knowing that actually I was the creator of my well-being and my health, I think really gave me the push that I needed. That actually I was in control. I think I had a good belief in myself that if I did the right research, had the right information, then I could actually drive my healing forward, which is what I've done now.
mm. Oh,
And
beautiful. But I have to ask you, Sam, it's not, did you have people in your family that have done something similar where they've reversed health issues with them being the creator? Like, where is that insight from? Because that's, although it's rising in terms of, more and more people are taking control of their health
mm,
and realizing they can impact it positively. Where did that come from for you?
for me, it's come from previous experiences with traditional medicine, um,
Mm,
where I actually didn't feel as if I had the best experience. So again, I went away and I consulted with alternative healers, which did actually remedy and help various other physical challenges that I've had further down the line. But yeah, it's just kind of knowing that just because you get given a diagnosis and a recommended advice for treatment, you can still go out there and look at other modalities, different healers. There are different paths
mm,
to go to. You don't necessarily have to believe that there is only one solution, which unfortunately traditional medicine still sees as doing Kegels and having surgery. I just think I think you need to be more open-minded, really, because there's only one curriculum with the traditional medicine, and unfortunately, a lot of their ideas are perhaps slightly outdated and not
yeah.
suited to where we are right now. But the sad part of
Yeah,
this
it
is
doesn't
that
him.
I think the
Mm,
sad
sorry.
part is that I think the sad part is that a lot of women feel as if they're alone and therefore don't talk about these issues. I mean, for me, it was very liberating. You know, it's not easy talking about something very intimate, but I think
Um,
that just by talking and acknowledging and knowing that it wasn't actually anything that I'd done myself, it was just for me, I feel like it was a combination of different emotional, physical, spiritual, and energetic blockages which has come together. But also, I feel like it was my body's last ditch attempt to say, hello, something needs to change here. Because I realize now, like over 2 years into my healing journey, that I actually had no connection with myself. I didn't know who I was, I had no identity. I didn't know what I liked, what I didn't like. And although what has happened to me hasn't been particularly pleasant, in actual fact, it was probably one of the best things that has happened to me because it's completely transformed me as a person. It's given me back a reconnection with my body, which I've never had, and I just feel like as if I am in control of my healing journey now. And I've made great strides forward now. I've managed to heal and reverse 2 of my prolapses. So I feel like I'm doing really well with everything that I'm doing. It's a big commitment. It's not a quick fix at all. With the hypopressives, it's something you have to do consistently. But with combining it with other healing modalities, it certainly all works together. But I think that women need to realize as well that there's not necessarily one particular healing modality or program that will help for everyone. It needs to be tailored to the individual person. So that, for example, there might be more sort of emotional needs and blockages that are attached to physical symptoms, because I do believe that what happens to us energetically and emotionally is reflected onto our body, and it's our body's way of saying we need to actually address something that's happening. And actually, it takes great courage and belief to actually acknowledge that there are certain things that we need to address and we need to face as part of our healing journey. So it's a very deep dive actually into your body and into your soul. That's
Yeah.
probably how I describe it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, it seems like you've really faced the issue head on and you're sort of swimming in deep waters and you've started coming out and seeing the light. But you must have had moments where I imagine that you doubted where this was all going. You must have had moments where you were not sure if you're on the right path. You must have had setbacks. What's the toolbox you used during those days? And on hindsight, with the power of what you know today, uh, what are what are
Well,
what are some coping mechanisms and strategies?
I think it's really important to acknowledge that the healing process is not always an upward trajectory. And for me, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. So you get moments of great highs, but then sometimes it might dip down, and there are plenty of plateaus along the way. So I think it's tied in quite a lot with an emotional experience as well as a physical experience. So when we at the start, when I was learning hyperpressives, within literally a few weeks, I felt a huge improvement in my symptoms and my experiences. But over time, I think you have to kind of acknowledge that that's not always going to be possible. You need to be very patient and compassionate with your body because it will heal itself when it's ready to do so. Um, so I think there were plenty of lows, but I realized at that point that I was doing everything that I physically and emotionally could for myself. And I knew that it wasn't always possible to go with the highs all the time. There was always going to be some shaky moments, but I just held on to the fact that I was doing my hyperpressives consistently. I was delving into different healing modalities, and I knew that eventually it would all integrate and it would all power up to help my healing journey. And so I did try
Yeah,
lots of different healing modalities. Do you want me to go through some of them or?
sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, when I got into Moonrise, I did actually watch every single one of Philippa's videos on YouTube, which which is a which is very much worth doing because she covers so much. And I think they're just invaluable to women to actually listen to Philippa's experience and the different healing modalities that are available out there and how you can actually do them from the comfort of your own home. And not all of them involve lots of financial investment. A lot of them you can do from what you've already got at home. So I just whizzed through some of mine. I've actually got a huge lever arch folder with all the different healing methods that I've tried. But
Yeah.
I think for me, block therapy really helped. I was told I had quite a few scars internally. So that started to help the process of breaking down and remediating lots of scar tissue with the fascia. So I'm an expert now on fascia. So,
Yeah,
and that's
tell for the
definitely,
for what for women that are watching this that have no idea what a fascia is. what block therapy is and what scars are. Can you just break that down?
Yeah, certainly. So fascia is like the key material around our body, which holds together all the bones, the muscles, the ligaments, the nerves, all the different fibers in our body. It's not normally acknowledged in traditional medicine, but the thought process is sometimes if the fascia is misaligned or if there's lots of tension, it can potentially twist and change. And this creates lots of tension and possibly could go towards prolapse symptoms and experiences that women have. So it's very important that we focus a lot of our attention and time on trying to resolve any issues in the fascia around the body, which is what Hypopressives does. With the block therapy, I use that on my tummy. So I just basically use one of my yoga blocks, and for 6 minutes every day after I done my hypopressives, I would just lie on my tummy with the yoga block, just on my tummy, listening to lots of relaxing music, and just to slowly try and melt away any scar tissue around the tummy area and realign and reinvigorate all the fascia around that area.
Mm.
So it's
Do you feel
definitely worth.
pain? Is that a common sensation?
Um, I didn't, but you can mediate any pain by using a rolled up towel. You don't necessarily have to go
Mm,
to the extreme of a yoga block. That might be too much for some women in the first instance, but that's something
mm,
that you can work up to. So I
mm,
included that. Legs up the wall is also a very good one. So at night time, when
mm,
women might experience quite a lot of heaviness and dragging, a lot of tension,
mm,
just lying down on the bed and putting your feet and your legs up the wall just for 5 minutes, either in silence or listening to something calming and releasing, can really help as
mm,
well. So these are simple things that
mm,
you've got.
mm,
Steaming really helped for me as well, which I think Philippa's got a video on, and that helps kind of melt
mm,
away um, any scar tissue internally, but also it activates
mm,
the vagus nerve, so you do get a
mm,
sense of freedom and release after
mhm,
that takes place. So again,
mm.
these are simple things that women could possibly consider doing at home. But I think like
What I'll
mentally.
do for those listening, sorry, Sam, what I'll do for those listening is to add links to everything you're talking about. So block therapy, legs up your wall is pretty straightforward. I think Philip has a video on that, and then steaming, which is also a very sort of simplistic practice you could do, to calm yourself and stimulate your vagus nerve, as Sam said. All right, please continue.
So I think tapping into my nervous system regulation was a huge issue for me because I realized for a long time, and because I had no connection with myself, that I was probably not in the best of states when it came to my nervous system. So I did lots of research on different healing methods, and I know that Philip has done a few videos on tapping and shaking and brushing. And while I was doing those, for anyone that's not familiar with that, the tapping is like raindrop tapping around your body. You can work from your head down to your feet, back up, and then brushing is just gentle, kind of soothing brush strokes up and down your body. And also the shaking is very liberating as well. That I would always kind of talk to myself. I would self-talk and say, my body, I'm safe. Um, Everything is going to be okay. I send loving messages to my body because I feel as if the power of positive thinking and affirmations are such a key thing to this, because I don't think normally in life women who are very busy just don't have the time to be sending positive messages. And
Um,
there's lots of research on how lots of positive thinking can actually help with our body's
mm,
healing. It can stimulate
mm,
lots of cell regeneration. Nerves can be soothed and healed as well. But it's just
mm,
spending that time to connect to your body. You actually, after a while, you will start to feel. I didn't used to be. I couldn't feel anything when I first started this process. I had no connection because I hadn't ever. I didn't know about that, which sounds completely crazy. But now I can actually feel myself. I know what's going on with my body. So, for example, if one day I want to do hyperpressives, but I'm feeling quite low energetically, then I can do hypopressives against the wall or on a chair or just lying down. I think it's so important not to be regimented and think, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z today. You need to stop and just pause just for a few seconds and say, what does my body want today? What can I do to support it, my healing journey? And then just adapt it from there. So I think you have to be quite flexible with your mindset as well. You can't necessarily build up a big timetable with Monday, I'm going to be doing this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, with the heat, well, not unfortunately, but you need to be mindful that the healing journey is going to be different at different points of the day and on different days as well. And on some days, you just might think, actually, I just need a day of not doing hyperpressives, and that's absolutely fine because that gives your body time to recalibrate, re-energize, ready for the next day. And it's important that you really enjoy what you're doing and are passionate about it as well. We don't want something that you're not going to be enjoying. You need to really have belief and trust in all the different modalities. And yeah, I just learned so much about all the different support mechanisms out there, things that you can do for yourself. It's a very empowering process, and relying on yourself as the creator for your wellness and healing as well is just so important. It's almost giving the power back to ourselves, with the power
Wow,
of the
beautiful.
yeah, the
Beautiful,
body.
Sam. I have to, sorry. No, that was beautiful. I have a bunch of follow-up questions, if you don't mind. You mentioned something that I think is very critical. Living with Philippa, she speaks a lot about it to our children, to myself, to me, and to herself, and which is about learning to listen to your body. Can you take us through what kind of signals were you looking for? And for somebody who thinks this concept is very abstract, where could they start to sort of embody listening to themselves, listening to their body?
Mm. Well, as I said before, I didn't really have any connection with my body at all, and it was something that my body was craving. I realize that now in hindsight and reflection, that my body wanted me to actually listen to it. So it's not something that can happen overnight. I think that starting off just being not having too much expectations. I think this is a very gradual process to realign and reconnect with yourself if you haven't had that in the past. So if you kind of have a moment during the day, just sit down in a calm, quiet space and just think, how am I feeling? What does my body want? Does it need to go out for a walk? Does it need to have a rest? Is it hungry? Just basic things. I think our busy lives today are just such that sometimes we either ignore feelings that we need something nutritious to eat or drink. We're just on the go all the time. And I think our culture and our lifestyle kind of teaches us that actually we just ignore our body. Our body is just a tool, but actually our body is part of our holistic being. We're not just a physical body, we're also a mental, energetic, and spiritual being as well. So I just think that a lot of these healing modalities require you to be present, and that is quite challenging actually. And if you're not used to being present, but the key is to be present and to actually try and feel. So personally for me, I've done a lot of somatic movement and breath work, and through that there's a lot of focus and encouragement on feeling your body. So we're not looking to do lots of energetic movements. We're looking to do something slow but purposeful and meaningful. And I think from doing those type of things, it really helps to start the journey of self-connection. But also, I've done a lot of meditations. I've written my own affirmations. Journaling is also a very key thing. If you're not one that feels comfortable with talking to other people, particularly about health issues which are very intimate, and it takes a lot of courage to talk about things that are quite intimate for your human body. If you're not that sort of person that's ready to talk about it just yet, then journaling is a fantastic way of kind of reconnecting with yourself in the written and almost like a more private form. So yeah, there are
And
lots of
how
ways.
did you journal? Did you journal sort of how you feel, and what is it more sort of factual reporting, or is it more sort of an emotional outpour?
It was a combination, really. It was talking about how I was feeling, what different, how my experiences with different healing methods had gone. It's a good chance as well to know who you can trust in terms of talking to people about how you're feeling, because you're in a very vulnerable state. I think when women are on these healing journeys, particularly with this particular physical symptoms that we have with prolapses and stress incontinence, you're very vulnerable. So I think it's very important to have a sense of community and a close network of people in your inner circle who you actually feel you can talk to about these things, and they will give you encouragement and the
Yeah.
feedback that you need actually to keep striving
Yeah.
forward. I would imagine it would be
Yeah.
very challenging to do this solo without that support and that sense of community, I guess, and that you're not the only one. Unfortunately, this
No.
affects a lot of women, but it is possible to take small steps on your healing journey and start to relieve symptoms like physically and mentally.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam, I have to ask you, so you did hypopressives on a regular basis. You added some block therapy, you did some journaling, meditations, affirmations. When you look back and look at your healing toolkit, maybe you want to add more to that box that you opened up for us, thankfully. So very kind of you to do that, because a lot of times women don't share, that success is multifaceted. You need to do a lot of different things to get to your destination. It's not a silver bullet, which is really what your point is here. And everybody has to find their own healing toolbox. So I'd love for you to complete that, whatever is left of that healing toolbox. And I'd love for you to talk about what was the routine like for you over a period of a week or a month, and how you sort of kept yourself motivated to follow that routine.
Yeah, certainly. I'm currently working in a school as a teacher, so my days are very long. But I was very mindful that although it wasn't possible for me to do much before I start school, because I start work at 7 in the morning, so it's a bit early. But during any 10-minute breaks, or even during, I used to do hypopressives in very unusual places. So I would, even though I would just like to say you don't have to be dressed in a workout outfit. You don't need to be in leggings and a sports top to do hypopressives or any of these healing things. If you have 5 minutes spare, then go for it. It doesn't need to be structured into your day at all. I used to do hypopressives in meetings, sat on a chair when no one was looking. I've done them in lifts at work, also while I've been waiting for the kettle to boil, sat in the car at traffic lights. There are amazing opportunities for you to do hyperpressives, and also quiet contemplation, meditation. And at some point, I have actually
Love it.
declared to people I am doing my hyperpressives, and people kind of
I
understand what
love
I'm up
it.
to. But
I
you can
love
be
it. Oh,
in
it's
between
lovely.
both.
Yeah, I mean, you're hacking your healing to work for you, and you
Yeah,
found a way to make it work for you, which is really the message here, right? Because
yeah.
there's no perfect way to do it, there's no right way to do it, it's your way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think part of the actual process is trying to tailor a program that works for you. But I would just like to put a little note out there that it's not a good idea to put some paper timetable together. So Monday, hyperpressives, legs up the wall, meditation, affirmations, because that is actually quite stressful for the body, because it just feels like, oh no, it's another long list of tasks to do, particularly if you've got a long working week, you've got children, family, social commitments, everything else. It would just feel like, oh no, another task list to complete. And the healing journey should never feel like a task list. It should feel something that is natural and right for you. So I would say trial out these different healing modalities. Yes, I think you have to do the hyperpressives every day for a minimum of 10 minutes, and perhaps give yourself 1 or 2 days off in between that, so that your body can recalibrate. But I think that you need to actually listen to your body. So today what does your body want from you? What can you do to support it? What methods can we use today that might be different from tomorrow? I mean, I noticed that my body is very different from the morning to the afternoon to the evening to the next day. So you'll have to be quite adaptable and flexible with what you would want to do for your body on that particular time. So I think it might be actually quite counterproductive to do something which your body might not be ready for or might not have the energy
Um,
for. So if you're doing something, I mean, I've always carried on doing high impact dance lessons. I do a lot of K-pop and Zumba. I never stopped doing
mm.
that. But because it's something that I love doing, and although the next day I may have had symptoms, actually the benefit, the psychological benefit of seeing my friends and actually doing something which I personally love and have a passion for, did outweigh any of the symptoms that I may feel the next day.
May I just pause you there for a second, because this reminds me of Trista, one of our teachers at Moonrise, and her story, and the way she says it is when she went and met her doctor and got the diagnosis, the first thing they asked her to do was to stop all the activities that she loves doing, which was cycling and running. And what you just said is literally the bang opposite, right? Because what you just said, if I maybe I'm paraphrasing too much here, but please add on here, is you did these activities, high impact dance activities, despite and in spite the symptoms you might have felt, because it made you feel great psychologically, socially, and that was worth it. And that was one way for you to listen to what was important for you.
Yes, definitely. I think initially, and when I first got a diagnosis, I was so protective of my body. I wouldn't even go out for a brisk walk, which is also what I love doing, because I was also told that I need to tone down all of my exercise routines, which for me was probably equally as upsetting because exercise and fitness has always been part of my identity and what I love doing. So
Mm.
initially, yes, unfortunately, I did stop doing a lot of the high intensity exercises, but eventually I know that I was unhappy and that it was something that my body was really craving on doing. It completely put my body out of balance. And as soon as I reintroduced the dance classes that I enjoy doing and my brisk walking, my body felt a sense of relief, really, reconnection, and I was just re-energized again, and I felt more like myself. So, if anyone is contemplating maybe amending or stopping doing something that they really enjoy, I'd seriously say consider that carefully, because if it's something that your
Mm.
body loves and craves, you should consider continuing with it.
Giving it shoot, yeah. So just back to the original question here, what other therapies did you add? Looking back, how do you sort of place them in terms of importance or effectiveness for you?
For me, I think hypopressives has to be the most healing modality. Definitely the sense of relief that I had from my symptoms, literally after a few weeks of doing that, was enormous, and it did actually give me a lot of push to think I can do this, I can heal. There is a really good way forward for me, and also it gave me the sense of community as we spoke about, and the sense of belief that actually the human body can heal itself. Um, I think positive thinking really helps. That's also a very important part of the healing journey. Um,
Mm.
I haven't mentioned this either, but I feel like I did a lot of reading actually, a lot of kind of inspirational life stories like Louise Hay, Gabor Mate,
Mm.
just trying,
Mm.
that's really useful as well because that just kind of underlines the fact that we are holistic beings, we're not just physical beings. And
No,
actually, the body will tell us at some point. The body will not continue forever to be ignored.
no.
The
Mm.
body will stop us from doing something, or it will just say through different physical symptoms and conditions that hey, you
Mm.
need to
Mm.
stop now, and you need to focus on you as a person, as a physical body.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's really helped me. And going to different workshops as well, women's circles, focusing on how um, early childhood experiences, for example, has impacted on how we are as an adult today. So looking at different
Mm.
patterns, mental patterns, physical patterns, which I feel like there's just so many strands of life which tie into healing that it's a huge area that I mean I just learned so much about myself and the power of different methods out there along the way. It's been enlightening for me and something that I feel so passionate about that I ended up doing my hypopressives teacher training with Abby.
Yeah.
I just felt such a call to have a significant life change that I did all of my hypopressives teacher training levels with Abby so that I can actually support other women that are going through different physical symptoms and conditions to try and support their healing journey along the way as well.
Yeah, yeah, and we're
Something that I
excited to get you involved with Moonrise as well as a teacher. And that's it's so inspiring that you've gone a full circle, that you've, started off with the diagnosis and those tough days to really working through holistically with a multiple range of modalities, clearly embodying that it's not a silver bullet, and now ready to give back as a teacher, which is brilliant to see. Which is brilliant to see. Sam, your story is inspiring. I have a couple of last questions. What tell us about the support you had in from your family or your friends? How did you share? What you were going through. Just walk us through sort of the support that you had around you.
Yeah, sure. I was very fortunate to have a strong family network around me and a very close circle of friends. So although initially I was fairly quiet about my diagnosis to start off with because I was going through quite a lot. It was a shock, and it's not something that you want to share straight away because there's a lot of confusion and you feel quite vulnerable. But eventually, when I did a lot of self-talk and I said to myself, this is something that should not affect your confidence. So I did speak to my family about what my diagnosis had been, and my close friends as well were highly supportive of me. So they gave me the encouragement and the platform really to share how I was feeling. Did lots of video
Mm,
calls, WhatsApp messaging, asking how I was feeling, how I was doing. That I
mm,
feel like that the social side and the community side is also very important. There are lots of social media platforms out there, also which share women's stories. So I feel like they were very helpful as well, but also like the community at Moonrise as well was just fantastic as well, in just coming together as a group of women and then sharing what we were experiencing and supporting each other with our healing.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Sam, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for being a super healer. Thank you for deciding to invest back in women's health and share everything that you know. We're really excited to see what you're going to create. Do you have any final words, for women out there that are contemplating if they can get better, that are self-doubting if they can get better, that don't have the support that a lot of us have or have had? What do you say to them?
I would say please give yourself self-compassion. It's so easy to feel aggrieved and angry with your body for the symptoms and the conditions that you have. But it's your body's attempt to tell you that you need to reconnect. It's something that's done to try and help you, or even though what you're experiencing isn't something pleasant at all, it's actually something which, in the long term, will actually realign and reconnect you to your body and your sense of being, which is something that maybe you've not been able to address or even understood that you could do before. But also take the power back if you've been given a diagnosis of surgery or doing Kegels, do your own research, see what else is out there. There's plenty of information on Moonrise. There's lots of other healing modalities, lots of reading that you could do, research. Start creating a folder of different methods and different inspiring stories that you found. There's lots of things out there on the website that for me gave me a lot of hope, but believe in that your body can actually heal. I think that's a key message as well. The body knows what to do. We just need to give it the belief, the time and support that it needs to actually start the healing process. And once it does start the healing process, it may be, your experience may be completely different to someone else's. So it's a very individual thing. But just try out different healing methods and see how your body likes them and how you feel about them. It's a long process, but it is something that you learn so much about yourself along the way, about your identity, what your body likes, who you are. And as I said, it completely changed my life. I've changed my career. It's just, you know, it's something that I absolutely love. It's given me a huge passion, and it's given me the direction that I feel like I lacked. It's really given me that sense of purpose and power, really.
Beautiful, Sam. I just have to end with a last question around Moonrise. So obviously, I'm very biased when I ask this, but I feel so proud that, the community and the team has impacted you so much, and our mission is to make healing accessible, remove pelvic floor dysfunction as a stigmatized topic, and give power back to women that they can indeed regain themselves. Just walk me through how you use Moonrise, and walk me through sort of what how you sort of look back on it and the support that you've gotten.
Yeah, certainly. So this was a couple of years ago now. I think I joined Moonrise in February of 2023 or something like that. So I first of all attended one of Abby and Philippa's introductory sessions online, where we're talking about hypopressives and the value that it can bring to you, the benefits. And so from that, I signed up for the program, which I believe is slightly different to the current program. And I learned of the different levels with Abby. Abby was actually my trainer, and I sent her my videos. That's how I got to know Abby, and through her support and direction and inspiration as well. The videos were very easy to follow, very methodical, and you can actually tailor them to go at whatever speed that you would like it to go. If you want to do 2 videos in a day, that's absolutely fine. So it's very much tailored again to your individual needs. But the support was just amazing. Abby came back to me with lots of different comments, feedback, different techniques that I could try. So I just feel like I powered through the Hypopressives program, and it left me kind of feeling that I wanted more. So that's when that's when I started to think about other healing modalities, and all the work that Philip has done on the YouTube videos has really, for me, has been hugely beneficial. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you, Sam. What I'm going to do is to make sure that the last part of this is seen by our community, because a lot of women, for good and bad, I guess, I just feel that hypopressives is going to take them all the way. But it's very important for all of us to understand that you probably need to find your own healing path, and there's sort of a buffet of things that are available within Moonrise or outside, on YouTube or social channels or wherever, and it's your job to curate and build your own toolbox. So I think that's the message here, and learning to listen to your body. So Sam, what an inspiring story. Thank you so much. We're really excited to feature you in Super Healers in the book. We're really excited to feature your interview here, both on Super Healers and on Moonrise. And yeah, we're really excited to get you closer to the community. I think women are going to fall in love with you. So really excited to see where your impact is going to how your impact is going to change the world.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. And let me just recording.